This video is about how to never be bothered by anyone. Not by insults, not by disrespect, not by quiet provocation. Have you noticed how easily your internal state shifts because of someone else's words? One comment changes your mood. One tone lingers in your mind longer than it should. You remain silent, but inside you react. You replay it. You justify it. That reaction is not weakness. It is misplaced power. And the moment you understand that being bothered is a form of surrender, the dynamic changes. In this video, you will see Machiavelli's coldest rule for mental strength. How calm detachment turns you into someone who cannot be moved, even in rooms designed to unsettle you. Becoming unbothered is not accidental. It is a deliberate, strategic decision. It is the conscious choice to treat your mental and emotional energy as something valuable, something that must be guarded. Think about how much of that energy is lost every day on things that carry no real weight. A stranger speaks rudely. A colleague makes a subtle remark. Someone online writes something irrelevant. And without noticing, your mind reacts. You replay it. You feel it. You give it attention. Each reaction costs you something. Your focus, your calm, your clarity. That energy could have been directed toward your goals, your thinking, your peace. Instead, it dissolves into irritation. To be easily bothered is to live in quiet depletion, a constant low-level leak of power caused by minor disturbances. This is not a conversation about modern self-improvement. It is not about optimism or chasing happiness. It is about construction, about building something internally strong enough that small provocations lose their impact. This is not comfort. It is fortification. It is the beginning of emotional immunity. Most people never realize that irritation is the first leak in their power. The goal is to become psychologically untouchable, to reach a point where other people's words and actions no longer disturb your internal state. This does not mean forcing yourself to feel nothing. Suppression takes effort and builds pressure beneath the surface. What we are discussing is detachment, a clear clinical indifference that recognizes provocation as nothing more than noise. You begin to see that someone else's attempt to affect you is not automatically your responsibility. It does not require your participation. The ideas here come from a colder and more realistic view of human behavior. Niccolo Machiavelli understood that many people are driven by envy, insecurity, and a desire to control others. He observed that those who govern their own emotional reactions hold a distinct advantage over those who are ruled by them. To be unbothered is not to be passive. It is to adopt a deliberate position. It is strategy, not apathy. And once you see it that way, the game changes. What feels personal is often procedural. It is a quiet statement that you refuse to become a pawn in someone else's psychological game. You watch, you understand, but you do not step into the emotional performance. What follows is not theory, it is analysis. We will break down how provocation actually works. You will see why offense is a trap designed to pull you into reaction, and how emotional responses become leverage in the hands of others. You will not be taught to ignore insults blindly. You will learn to categorize them correctly as irrelevant information that does not require internal disturbance. You will not be told to confront every sign of disrespect. You will learn how the absence of reaction removes its power entirely. The objective is direct and uncompromising, to ensure that your internal world answers only to you. And once that boundary is established, very little can reach you. Your emotional reaction functions like currency. Every time you react impulsively, you spend something valuable: your calm, your clarity, your internal balance. And the moment you spend it on provocation, You transfer value to the person who triggered you. Real strength is restraint. It is the discipline to keep your emotional wealth intact instead of scattering it across minor irritations. Before responding, ask yourself quietly, is this worth the cost? In most cases, it is not. And when you begin to see reactions as transactions, you become far more selective. You stop paying for disturbances that offer no return. You conserve your currency, and that conservation is power. When you react emotionally, you hand others leverage. The moment your response becomes predictable, it becomes usable. People learn which words unsettle you, which tones provoke you, which situations cloud your judgment. Once that pattern is visible, it can be steered. And when someone can steer your reactions, they influence your decisions. Real power is found in composure. When you remain steady, you remove the handle others try to grip. Your calm keeps your position intact. Do not surrender your internal state to someone else's behavior. Keep your leverage where it belongs, within you. Most people move through life in invisible chains, emotional triggers that anyone can pull to guide their behavior. A provocateur does not need strength or authority. They only need to find the right emotional string. When you react automatically, you step into the role that was prepared for you. You become predictable. You perform the part without realizing it. Real freedom begins the moment you interrupt that pattern. When you stop allowing others to dictate your internal state, the chain weakens. You shift from participant to observer. You watch the attempt without entering it. In that position, calm, unprovoked, and self-contained, control returns to you. If you find yourself reacting more than you'd like, that usually means your emotional boundaries are still exposed. In my ebook, The Art of Strategic Indifference, I break down how controlled detachment prevents others from influencing your state. It is not about becoming cold, it is about becoming sovereign over your reactions. If you want to deepen this skill, the link is in the description. An insult is rarely an attack in itself. It is an invitation. It is bait, placed carefully to draw you into a reaction that gives it weight. Like a hook in water, it only causes damage if you bite. The words are not the real mechanism. The intent behind them is. When you see that intent clearly, something shifts. You realize the insult has no power on its own. It requires your participation. The sting is not automatic. It is granted. And when you refuse to engage, when you decline the invitation entirely, the insult collapses into nothing more than sound. Offense is a social contract you are never required to sign. For you to feel offended, two things must happen. First, someone says or does something that carries the potential to provoke. Second, and this is the crucial part, you agree to internalize it. Offense is not automatic, it is cooperative. Most people accept this contract without hesitation. They have been conditioned to believe that certain words demand outrage, that certain behaviors require emotional reaction. So they comply. They feel slighted. They perform indignation. Over time, this conditioning becomes reflex. You begin scanning the world for reasons to be disturbed. You monitor language. You evaluate tone. You stay alert for disrespect. And in doing so, you remain emotionally entangled in the behavior of others. This agreement quietly transfers power away from you. It makes your inner state dependent on external conduct. You become responsible for correcting the world, an impossible and exhausting task. Your peace becomes conditional, tied to whether everyone around you behaves according to your expectations. And that is a burden you were never meant to carry. The moment you feel offended, you have already accepted the invitation. If someone fails to meet your standards, the unspoken rule says you must become upset. That is how the contract works. And living by that rule turns you into a servant of other people's behavior. especially the careless and unpredictable behavior of strangers. It is a weak position. Real power does not come from forcing the world to adjust itself to your expectations. It comes from withdrawing your signature from the contract entirely. You decide deliberately that you will no longer participate. When you refuse to take offense, you are not approving the behavior. You are classifying it as irrelevant to your internal state. You see what was done, you understand the intent behind it, but you do not grant it entry into your mental fortress. The person trying to provoke you remains there alone, holding an offering that no one accepted. Without your reaction, the transaction fails. No emotional fuel is provided, so nothing ignites. What they intended to spark dissolves. This is not passivity, it is control. It is discipline at its highest level. You are not withdrawing from the world, you are mastering how you relate to it. To dissolve this contract of offense, you adopt clinical detachment. You begin to see provocations as part of a performance. People posture, they insult, they display outrage to elevate themselves. Instead of stepping into the scene, you watch it unfold. Like observing a play, you can understand the characters and their motives without rushing onto the stage. Their script does not belong to you. You are not required to follow their cues. When you refuse to be offended, you make a quiet but unmistakable statement. It signals that you operate at a different level, one where minor provocations carry no value. You are not governed by the same emotional reflexes, and once that separation becomes clear, the dynamic shifts permanently. Disrespect is rarely random. More often, it is a probe, a subtle test meant to collect information about you. When someone shows you disrespect, they are observing your response carefully. If you become angry and defensive, they learn that you are easily provoked. If you retreat and shrink back, they learn that you can be intimidated. If you ignore it completely in a way that looks fearful or unaware, they draw conclusions from that as well. Your reaction becomes data. It tells them about your confidence, your insecurities, and how to approach you in the future. In that moment, you are being assessed. A dismissive remark in a meeting is not just a comment. It is a signal sent to measure whether you will protect your position. Someone stepping ahead of you in line is not always careless. It can be a quiet test of your assertiveness. Each small act of disrespect becomes a way for others to gauge how much ground you will defend and how much you will give away. Disrespect is rarely emotion. It is reconnaissance. These moments are not small irritations. They are quiet transactions of power. Each one carries an exchange, information for reaction. The person who remains unbothered, yet responds with measured, deliberate action, if action is even necessary, is the one who passes the test. They do not react from anger. They do not offer the satisfaction of visible hurt. Their composure communicates something precise. Your probe returned nothing. You gained no insight into me. Think of your calm as camouflage. The moment you react emotionally, you expose your position. You highlight your vulnerabilities. But when you remain steady and detached, you reveal nothing. Your thoughts stay concealed. Your internal state remains unreadable. That uncertainty unsettles the person attempting to provoke you. Without a visible effect, they cannot measure their impact. And when someone cannot measure their influence, their strategy begins to weaken. They sent out a probe and received nothing in return. No signal, no reaction. You remain unreadable, and people are naturally cautious around what they cannot measure. This is why you must stop viewing disrespect as a personal attack and start seeing it as a tactical move within a social game. When it happens, do not ask, "Why are they disrespecting me?" Ask instead, "What are they trying to achieve? And what are they hoping to learn from my reaction?" The moment you shift to this analytical frame, the balance changes. You are no longer absorbing the insult, you are studying it. You move from target to strategist. From there, you choose the response that serves you, not your ego. And often, the most powerful response is no emotional response at all. You allow the probe to pass through you without striking anything solid, nothing to grip, nothing to ignite. And in that absence, your advantage becomes clear. The belief that anger is justified can be a powerful trap. It feels natural to think that disrespect or unfairness requires a heated response, but often that reaction benefits the person who provoked you more than it benefits you. Anger feels strong in the moment, yet it narrows your judgment and exposes your position. Real strength is not found in impulsive reaction. It is found in restraint, in choosing calm, deliberate action instead of emotional release. Your composure is leverage. Once surrendered, it is difficult to recover. So before reacting, remember that emotional relief is temporary, but the loss of control can be lasting. Anger feels powerful, but it is usually evidence that someone else has control. To adopt a Machiavellian mindset is to govern your own mind as if it were a sovereign state. Your emotions are present. They inform you, they signal things, but they are not rulers. You listen to them without allowing them to take control. They advise, but they do not command. When provocations appear, you do not grant them entry into your internal territory. You acknowledge them, then let them pass. Stability becomes your foundation. In this position, power is not external display, it is internal order. You are not suppressing emotion, you are directing it. And when your mind answers only to you, you stop being ruled by circumstance. You become the authority within your own domain. Indifference is one of the sharpest tools a strategist can use. Silent, controlled, and precise. When you meet provocation with genuine indifference, you remove the significance the other person was trying to create. Most people expect a reaction. They rely on it. When none comes, the loop breaks. Their attempt to provoke disappears into silence, and without feedback, they begin to question their own influence. You remain steady, conserving your energy, while they exhaust theirs, trying to produce an effect. Real indifference cannot be forced. It comes from self-possession and clear priorities. When you know what matters to you, minor provocations lose weight automatically. And often, the strongest position is the one that never enters the fight at all. Your mind has limited resources. Every thought you entertain and every emotion you amplify is an investment of energy. A disciplined, strategic mindset directs that energy only where it produces value. Reacting to provocation is rarely a wise investment. It consumes attention, drains clarity, and offers no meaningful return. Each unnecessary reaction reduces your capacity for deliberate action. When you begin to see this clearly, your behavior changes. You guard your focus carefully. You allow distractions and minor provocations to fade into background noise instead of granting them center stage. As you withdraw automatic reactions, your mental reserves begin to accumulate. Clarity sharpens, control strengthens. And when you govern your own thoughts consistently, your experience of the world becomes intentional rather than reactive. Everything else becomes noise competing for a response you no longer provide. Your mind is a fortress, and you are the only one who decides what enters it. Most people leave their gates open, allowing every opinion, criticism, and piece of drama to walk straight in. You cannot afford to do that. In the brief pause between what happens and how you respond, ask yourself a simple question. Is this worth my peace? That pause is where authority lives. Treat most provocations the way you would treat junk mail. You notice it, you recognize what it is, and you discard it without emotion. Each time you refuse entry, your internal authority strengthens. Your peace is not delicate unless you allow it to be. It is directed. It is governed. And when you consistently choose what deserves your reaction, you establish something few people ever achieve: full rule over your inner world. Shift your position from participant to observer. View provocations as information rather than personal attacks. When something happens, narrate it internally as if you are studying behavior, not defending yourself. Instead of immediately labeling events as good or bad, remove the emotional layer and examine them as neutral occurrences. An insult is a statement. A compliment is a statement. Neither defines you unless you decide it does. Practice this deliberately in daily situations. Watch interactions. Analyze tone, intention, and context without attaching yourself to the outcome. Let emotional waves rise and fall without chasing them. With repetition, detachment stops feeling forced and becomes natural. Even when a stronger provocation appears, your first instinct is observation, not reaction. And once that becomes automatic, your calm is no longer fragile. It becomes stable, measured, and difficult to disturb. Separate your true self from your ego. The ego is a surface identity, a mask built from roles, reputation, and image. It is easily bruised because it depends on how it appears to others. Your core self is different. It is the quiet observer behind the mask, the part of you that remains unchanged regardless of praise or criticism. When you feel provoked, pause and ask, who wants to respond right now? My ego or the observer within? The ego demands defense. It wants to prove, correct, retaliate. But you do not have to obey it. Let the ego absorb the noise without acting on its impulses. When you stop identifying completely with the mask, criticism loses its grip. Words aimed at your image no longer reach your core. You retreat inward to a place that is not defined by opinion. And once you recognize that most conflicts are battles for ego validation, you realize you are free to step out of them entirely. The ego demands defense. The sovereign mind requires none. Composure is not something you wait to feel, it is something you choose. It functions like armor, not by removing provocation, but by preventing it from penetrating you. You control your breath, you steady your posture, you soften your movements, you keep your gaze calm and measured. Even if emotion flickers beneath the surface, your exterior remains stable. Over time, that stability reinforces itself. Your body stops signaling agitation. Your voice stops revealing disturbance. You become difficult to read. This is what real composure looks like. Not suppression, but controlled presence. And when you can maintain that presence consistently, very little can shake you. The strategy of the void means meeting provocation with calm emptiness. When someone throws a stone expecting a splash, you remain still. No ripple, no visible disturbance. Without reaction, their aggression has nothing to feed on. It fades. You hold your silence. You maintain composure. The moment passes without leaving a mark, as if absorbed into empty space. This is not weakness. It is controlled indifference. And in that stillness, the person attempting to provoke you loses significance. They become background noise. Silence is not the absence of response. It is the denial of access. To become untouchable, stop measuring yourself against the world's scoreboard and create your own. External reactions, praise, criticism, none of that determines your position. The only question that matters is simple. Did you maintain your composure, and did you act in alignment with your long-term goals? If the answer is yes, then you have succeeded, regardless of how others perceived the moment. Your internal evaluation replaces external judgment. When you live by that standard, your stability no longer depends on the crowd. On your own scoreboard, the one that measures discipline, clarity, and restraint, you remain in control. The highest form of authority is not loud or dramatic, it is silent. Real power is found in a mind that does not shake, a mind that remains steady when others are provoked, calm when others are chaotic. Most people chase visible battles, arguing, defending, reacting. The disciplined person turns inward and masters the only territory that truly belongs to them. This is silent authority, an internal fortress that does not announce itself, yet cannot be easily breached. When you choose to remain unbothered, not as suppression but as control, you establish a stability that few can disturb. When nothing can move you, nothing can manage you. If this sharpened your perspective, leave a like. Share your thoughts below. I read them carefully. If someone in your life needs to hear this, send it to them. Subscribe if you value calm, strategic thinking over noise. And continue with the next video, because mental control is built deliberately.